Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Sravan. We've got Taran here with us.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about JokerFolieADeux. We are a little bit late to the party with this one. I think we're a little bit late to a lot of the parties with our reviews at the moment on cognitive recalibration. What are you going to say? Not really.
Not that late.
Yeah, we're not too late.
Yeah.
We're recording it about a week after it's come out. I guess in a way that's good because it's given us a bit of time to absorb what we had seen with this movie. So we'll jump into our thoughts on it. So we'll do non-spoilers if you haven't seen the movie yet first, and then we'll signal clearly when we're going to be doing spoilers later in the episode. So a little bit about the movie. It's directed by Todd Phillips again, who directed the first Joker back in 2019. The first Joker was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time until Deadpool and Wolverine came out this year. So it was very, very successful. It was $1 billion movie when it did come out. Joaquin Phoenix returns after winning the Academy Award for his first, for his performance in the first one. We've also got Lady Gaga in this one playing, I guess, Harley Quinn, but we'll get into that when we start talking about it. So what do you think of it?
Didn't really like it.
It is a musical, which I didn't mention. So it's an interesting turn that they took in terms of genres as well. So it is a musical. Famously, your least favorite genre of films is musicals.
Famously?
Yeah.
Is it famous?
Yes. Yeah. Everyone knows.
I don't think I don't go out to watch them that much.
Yeah.
Like I would prefer to not watch them.
What's your favorite musical movie?
Favorite musical movie. Have we seen one recently? Wonka was okay. That's probably not my favorite.
Yeah.
I can't actually remember.
If you take away the Disney ones.
Oh yeah, no Disney ones. Yep.
Because they're technically musicals, but they're like the animated ones.
Yeah, it would. If they were included, it would probably be one of those.
Yeah.
Does Aladdin count? No.
No. Well,
like the live action one.
No, so not the live action ones either, because they're just using the songs from the the animated ones. Yeah, like
I don't think I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah, I've seen some. I've seen like In the Heights and La La Land. I think La La Land is pretty good. Like of all the musicals I've seen, I think that's probably one of the best ones. This is not one of the best ones. So
yeah. It's not good.
Yeah, I interrupted you, so yeah, go ahead. What you were about to jump into it.
It's just not good. It's not that good. I don't think anyone really likes this movie. I don't think the people that made it even like this movie.
Yeah, it's just weird. We won't get into the story because really there isn't that much of a story, to be honest.
I think that's the biggest problem. There's just not much. There's not much of a story, and it drags along. And instead of I haven't seen many musicals, so you could probably attest to this more, but musicals generally use the music to further the story along and one or two things. They either make it entertaining, so it's like a good song and it's like catchy and good to sing along to, or they further the story.
Yeah.
And I felt like the songs in this did neither of that. They weren't catchy, they weren't good to listen to, or they didn't further the story.
They were basically just interruptions. Like actually there were points of the movie where I actually started to get invested in it and it was building a bit of tension and I was like, oh, this is getting a bit interesting. And then it skips to a song and the song actually takes away from what they were building up to. It's basically like an interruption to what was actually happening. And
the songs weren't catchy.
I don't remember a single one.
Yeah, nothing was like memorable in terms of the songs. And Lady Gaga is a good singer as well, but they don't really use her.
Did they make her sing like worse?
I don't know.
There were some parts where I think like there's no music, like she's just singing and she's like off pitch and stuff. So like, she's obviously a good singer. So did they make her?
She was a professional singer. So yeah, she should be good at singing. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't think it follows through on anything that well.
Going back to the first Joker, so I think we liked it.
I think the biggest problem with the first Joker, which is also a problem with this, my biggest problem with the first Joker is it's not actually a Joker movie. It's just a movie about some crazy guy.
Yeah.
And he happens to put on clown makeup.
Yeah. This is even
And this
less,
is even more disconnected from, yeah.
yeah, it's even less connected to the Batman universe. And the stuff that is included that is connected to the Batman universe is like so.
It's like almost embarrassed that they put it in. They're like, oh, we'll put this in, but we won't really do anything with it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was a like a disadvantage of the first one, or a downside to the first one. But this one, it's even more so. And I actually did like, I haven't watched the first one again. It's way too intense and depressing for me to watch again. But this one is even worse in terms of like, you walk out and you don't feel good at all. Like it's.
I think the first one built a bit more tension and was a bit more. It wasn't like fun to watch, but it was. It
was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was still like it was engaging. It kept your interest and it built up to something, and there was definitely like shocking moments in it.
This was more of a courtroom drama, but then it just recounts the events of the first movie pretty much.
Yeah, except it puts like a different spin on it. So like very high level, what the story is about is Arthur Fleck has been arrested and he's going to court about the stuff he did in the first movie. And the whole narrative is that potentially he's got multiple personalities. And Arthur himself didn't commit the murders. It was the other personality of the Joker that committed the murders. And then it sort of plays on that. And like it's about what society wants him to be, and then what I guess Harley Quinn is kind of the voice of society, like, or parts of society that want him to be Joker. Ultimately, it's what he wants to be, is what the story is.
I think this movie is probably held, like that story itself isn't the worst when you say it like that, but it's probably held back by the fact that this is meant to be Batman Joker, which, like, if it was just some random guy that went on a killing spree and then he has multiple personalities, this would probably be more interesting. But because they have to make it the Joker, that's what makes it ridiculous, and it tries to be grounded and like realistic, but then at one point he wears Joker makeup and dresses the Joker and represents himself, and it's meant to be realistic, and you're like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Why is this in this movie?
Yeah,
and he represents himself, and he's a complete idiot.
Yeah, like it would never.
Like, I don't like doubt it. He's like an idiot, but it's like, why is this in this movie?
Like, why is the judge letting this happen?
Why is the judge letting this happen?
I think, yeah, even if it wasn't a Joker movie, the reason the first movie made so much money is because it was a Joker movie. Like, not that many people would have watched the first movie if it was just like Joaquin Phoenix doing some, drama. And it was called something else because it had DC Joker on it. That's why people watched it. And then the other parts of it, I mean, it was there were shocking moments to it, and people talked about it, and it became this thing that people wanted to watch because people were talking about it. But I think this just won't have that appeal. Because of the direction they took it. Firstly, it's not going to appeal to the DC fans. It's got nothing for DC fans, absolutely nothing. If anything, it violates some of the law and stuff. So like it kind of doesn't make any sense. It's not going to appeal to musical fans because it's probably way too...
It's not a good musical.
It's not a good musical, and it's probably just too intense for that kind of audience. Yeah. Like it's quite an intense movie. Like the first one was as well, but this one, at least in the first one, it built up to something. And in a way, in a twisted way, it was kind of satisfying because if you follow the character, he does kind of have an arc. In this, they kind of go backwards with his character. So it's not satisfying at all. It's kind of depressing. The character's just like this pitiful guy that's obviously got issues, and they end it in a way that it's just like, what was the point of all of this? And the other thing is this sequel didn't really need to be made. I'm questioning why. Obviously, they made it because the first one made so much money, but they didn't have a story there to...
Yeah, they probably even stretched the first one with the amount of story they had. So
yeah,
it definitely didn't need to be made. But I think they did it for money. But I don't think the director really had a vision with it.
No.
Joaquin Phoenix is good in it, like in terms of
that's
what he acts.
Yeah.
And I don't think Lady Gaga is not actually in it that much. like, which she could have been good in it, but she's not really in it.
Yeah, they promoted it as if it's a Joker Harley Quinn movie, but it's not. Like, she's a supporting character. And she's not in it that much. We can do some spoilers on this, but in spoilers, we'll talk about in the comic books or in the source material what Harley Quinn and Joker relationship is and what they've done in this movie. And it's, I mean, I don't think that's a bad part of the movie, but it is a different kind of origin story for her.
Yeah, but the original joke, this is just not Batman and Joker. Like, this is not Joker. It's just a completely different character.
Yeah,
and
even the Harley Quinn, like, they don't even call her
Harley Quinn.
They don't even call her that. They call her Lee or something. So it's
every character in this that is meant to be part of the Batman universe is not in any way related to that Batman universe. And I guess you can't rate this movie on what it isn't, and you should rate on what it is. So, like, it could be like an Elseworlds comic or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, this is alternate versions of all those characters. But even in that, it has to be interesting in what it is. Yeah. And it fails on that. So that's the main thing. Like, if you make an interesting movie, but the characters are no way similar to what they should be in the comics, fine, whatever. Yeah. But make it an interesting movie, which they didn't.
Yeah, it was just not very engaging. And it was about 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So not like super long. But it felt super long.
Yeah, there's just not enough story for that amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, a courtroom drama
can be interesting. Yeah.
But if it's just recounting the events of the first movie, then just watch the first movie then. Yeah.
I guess the only positives I had, what you mentioned, I think Joaquin Phoenix he's good again. Like, with what he has, he does a really good job. And I think the cinematography was pretty good. It looks good. Like, the first movie looked pretty good as well in terms of the cinematography. What I didn't mention is this movie cost close to $200 million, which is...
It's doing bad as well.
It's doing very bad. Yeah, it's certainly not going to make $1 billion for sure. Yeah. It might not even make half of that. But $200 million for this is...
Do you know this? I think this had a lower opening than Madam Web.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it had a opening equal to Morbius, I think.
Yeah. So this is the level of movie this is being compared to.
Yeah.
It's not the worst movie I've seen this year, but it's close.
I think Madam Web is worse than this because that's just a really badly made movie.
I would rather watch Madam Web over this, though.
Yeah. But I think it's weird because it's kind of competently made. Like, you can kind of see that they're trying to do something, but it was just not the right combination of things. And I guess there wasn't enough plot to sustain people's interest. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say, non-spoiler wise. So I don't recommend this movie. Actually, one of our friends asked me, because they've got a promotion this weekend at the cinemas with $8 tickets. And he's like, do you want to watch Joker 2? And I was...
No, because we're not friends anymore for unrelated reasons.
Yeah, just completely unrelated to this topic. No, I usually with most movies, even if it's like an average movie, I'd be like, if a friend wants to catch up and watch it, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can watch it. But this one, I was just like, nah, I'm never watching this again. I don't care. I don't care if you pay me to watch it, I'm not watching it.
Even on the night, it was hard to get through. I was quite tired as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think being not tired will help this movie. Yeah. It was definitely like one of the worst cinema experience I've had in recent times, where there was just no enjoyment from the movie.
Yeah, and I think most of the audience was not really enjoying it.
Yeah.
The cinema score for this, so that's like the rating system they do on opening night audiences to see if the movie was up to their expectations. And this has the worst cinema score for any comic book movie ever. It's like worse than Batman and Robin,
but look,
worst of the worst.
It's not that bad. It's a competently made movie. I just thought it was boring, like you said. It's just boring.
Yeah.
There's nothing much to it. Yeah.
So it had a D cinema score for, which is not good. It's just bad.
It's better made than like Morbius or like Madam Web. Like,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's kind of competently made, but it's just
I would rather watch maybe not Morbius, but I'd definitely watch Madam Web over this. Just because it's like, it's so bad that it's kind of entertaining, but this is just boring. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no enjoyment in it. Well, I guess we can jump to spoilers. So if you haven't seen Joker 2, FolieADeux, by all means, if you're interested, go watch it and come back and we'll talk some spoilers. All right. So what do we want to talk about? I guess Harley.
A whole load of spoilers for this. Like, it genuinely, like, did anything surprise you in this movie?
No, I don't think there was meant to be any surprises.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The first one did actually surprise me. Like some of the stuff that happens in that movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of quite shocking, like the violent turn that he takes in the movie. In this, he doesn't actually kill anyone.
No.
I mean, I'm not
dream sequences he does.
Yeah, like I don't want him to kill people, but he's the Joker, so like he's meant to be the Joker. He's not doing very Joker things.
But I think it's like it's an Elseworlds Joker where he's just, or maybe he's not even the Joker. And
that's
that
right.
random guy that kills him at the end is the Joker.
Yeah. So,
but also there was no lead up to that. Like that could have been a good reveal if there was some kind of lead up to that. But they just show that character maybe like twice.
Yeah, they show him once where like the camera's sort of focused on him and he looked kind of angry. I'm like, what's the deal with that dude?
But they show a lot of guys in the prison, like randomly. Yeah, I don't think he was spotlighted more than anyone else. Yeah.
Well, there was his friend or like...
But that guy died.
That guy dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, like, there's no payoff. It's just like... just before the actual climax, the prison guards like beat up Arthur, and then they kill this other guy, and then he stops being the Joker, and that's the end and then he comes back to jail and someone kills him. I'm like, what was the point of all of that?
Yeah,
is it just to make you feel even worse for him?
I don't think the character was off-brand with what you expect from that guy seeing the first movie. But that's why I don't think this movie should have been made, because it's just, that character's just, it's just a sad person to be a part of, like to follow the story. And I don't think it's that different to what the character was in the first movie. And like that, I guess the arc he has, not much of an arc, but the arc he has makes sense given the character, but it just wasn't interesting to watch. It just felt like watching a real guy in prison.
I would have liked, like, if I was thinking of a sequel to the first movie and it was going to have Harley Quinn in it, I would have thought, like, I don't know, he breaks out of
They're doing something, yeah.
And they like team up and they.
So basically, it would be good if they did something in this movie.
Yeah, because they don't actually. He doesn't do anything. He actually doesn't do anything.
Not many characters in this movie do anything.
Yeah. Like, he goes to court and he does stuff. Do you know what
would be more interesting if they did it focusing on the Harvey Dent character?
Yeah, he's.
But he's not even. He's hardly in this, and then they half-heartedly do an origin for him at the end.
Barely, like he's hardly in it. He could be anyone. He couldn't.
Yeah, they're just like, let's get Harvey Dent because people will like that reference.
Yeah, recognize him. But yeah, I guess they sort of do an origin for him.
But he just, instead of having half his face burnt off, he just has some scratches.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense because Bruce Wayne is what? This is 2 years after the first movie, and in the first movie he's like
5.
Yeah, like he's a little kid, so
he's 7 now. And
even the end part that they do, so they allude to the fact that Arthur wasn't the actual Joker.
The guy's the Joker.
I guess the persona of Joker is transferred to this other guy who wants to be Joker, and I didn't really notice it when I was watching it because I couldn't wait to get out of the cinema. But apparently he's carving his face.
He carves his smile to his face, yeah.
Which is like kind of like the Heath Ledger.
So apparently at the end of the first Joker, they wanted him to do that, but then Christopher Nolan said no.
Why did they have to ask him? This is completely unrelated to this movie. Couldn't they just do it?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently Jared Leto didn't want them to make the first Joker movie.
And they just ignored him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way it ends. I guess the other thing is the Harley Quinn Joker relationship. So what happens in the origin, the origin story, which they did in the animated series. So Harley Quinn was first created actually for the Batman animated series, but basically she's his psychologist, or she's working with him in prison, and then he manipulates her to become Harley Quinn. That's the origin story. But what happens in this is kind of the reverse, because she manipulates him to do what she wants, which is kind of a reflection of what the supporters of Joker in the outside world want.
Which is not the worst way to do it, except they just don't explore it. And you get no backstory for Harley Quinn. Like, there's nothing.
Well, apparently she lied about...
But like, it's like one dialogue that they say, and then you actually don't find out why she's doing anything. She's just doing stuff.
I think she's just obsessed with him, but not Arthur. She's obsessed with the Joker.
Yeah, but it's not explored properly at all. Like, the thing is that Harley Quinn's only in like 5 or 6 scenes in this movie where she actually talks and says stuff, and the rest of it,
she's
just singing, and like, it just doesn't add anything to the story. I just think a lot of her stuff was probably cut on the...
Yeah, because there's stuff in the trailer that's not in the movie. It's not a movie I'll ever watch again.
Yeah.
Even the first one, which I actually liked, I just wouldn't watch again either, unless, we have to review it again or like talk about it again for some reason.
I guess it's not bad to do these kind of Elseworlds stories where it's like a different take on a character compared to what we normally would do. But this seemed like they didn't actually have a different take. They just did a movie because they had to do a movie.
Yeah, I think Warner Brothers probably forced Todd Phillips to do it, and then Todd Phillips just did what he wanted. Maybe he wanted to make a musical, and he's like, well, I'm doing this Joker movie, so let's just make
I think that is, I don't know the full background story, but I think they did force him to make this movie, and initially he was going to make a Broadway musical. And then they're like, you got to do this. So he just did this as a musical.
Yeah.
A lot of people think he did it to piss off the supporters of the first movie as well, which by changing the character. But if you watch the first movie and you think the Joker is like a hero in that movie, then maybe you're the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he was obviously like had problems in that movie and has problems in this movie as well. I don't think that's what he did. I think he just didn't know what he wanted to do with this movie.
There were parts of this movie where it was getting interesting though. So there's a part where Zazie Beetz, who was in the first one, which is another thing, because there was a bit of a mystery in the first one as to what happened to a character, because people, at least I thought
did he kill her? Or yeah,
I thought he killed her, or well, we don't know, but they obviously that mystery is solved because she's alive in this one, and she starts off saying, oh, I don't know anything about Arthur, but then she goes on to reveal more than anyone else about him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I didn't find though. I just didn't find that courtroom stuff interesting at all. The part I found the most interesting was when he becomes he's advocating for himself and he's just spouting nonsense. I found it interesting.
And he's putting on this like accent as well, like this is like a southern accent or something. Like
yeah, and I found that more interesting as like, why is this happening?
Yeah. And I thought the part where the Mr. Puddles, is that his name?
Puddles,
from the first one, I thought that was kind of...
Well, that's that scene. That's the same scene.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the movie starts off with like this like Looney Tunes animated sequence with the Joker.
Didn't need to be there.
Yeah, apparently it was a homage to like when they...
used to do that.
They used to have cartoons before the films, like Bugs Bunny cartoons and stuff, so it was kind of...
But also, if you take that out, you cut the runtime by like 10 minutes.
Probably wasn't required. Yeah, apart from that, it's not much. It's just a bit of a... I do have a poster of the Joker up there, actually. The Joaquin Phoenix Joker, even though I don't really like that movie, but I do like the artwork. Like the cinematography and stuff is good. But yeah, otherwise I can't recommend this to anyone. I don't think anyone will like this.
Yeah. I don't think this movie is for anyone. Like, there's some movies that I don't like, but I'm like, other people will like this. This one, I don't think anyone would like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
There may be parts where you're like, that's moderately interesting, but as a whole product, I don't think anyone's liking this.
All right. I think, well, hopefully our next one is slightly more uplifting and just a more engaging watch than this. But I don't have my hopes up because it's Venom. What's it called? The Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
I don't particularly like those movies either, but they're probably a bit more entertaining than this one.
They're more Morbius, Madam Web kind of.
Yeah. In that vein. There's 3 Sony Spider-Man movies this year. So there's Madam Web, there's this, and then there's...
Did Craven get pushed to next year?
I think it's still this year.
It's still this year? Okay.
Yeah. It's in December. So I think it's still coming out. So yeah, they're pumping them out.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll be done. I think after this, they'll be done.
With Craven?
Yeah, Craven will bomb and then it'll be over. Yeah.
All right, so if people want to get in touch with us, how do they go about it?
So we're on all social media platforms at Cognitive Recalibration, or you can email us at cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you want to support us, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram as well. We post reels and shorts, TikToks on that, which are excerpts from our episodes. And obviously give us a subscribe and like if you like this kind of content. And yeah, give us a comment. Tell us what you thought about Joker. No worries. I guess we'll end it on an unsatisfying note, just like this movie.
Just like the movie, yeah. It's a bit of a dour movie. It's sapped all the energy out of us because it's just not good. Yeah.
Just even talking about it is...
There's some movies that are not good and you want to talk about them. This movie, you don't want to talk about it. It's not good. Yeah.
All right. Hope you enjoyed the episode more than we enjoyed the movie, and we'll see you in the next one. See you later.